Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News, broadcasting to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced Israel would respond to the heinous Tel Aviv terror attack with a number of aggressive steps. The United States urges Israel to assure it does not punish innocent Palestinian civilians as part of its aggressive steps in response for the Tel Aviv terror attack. The United Nations announces it would not hold another round of Syria peace talks in Geneva until officials on all sides agree to a principal guidelines for a transition accord. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, following Wednesday night's attack at a restaurant in Tel Aviv, in which 4 Israelis were murdered, announced that his government decided on a number of aggressive steps. Netanyahu also revealed that after searching for people who cooperated with the Palestinian assailants, an accomplice to the heinous attack was caught.
היום כינסתי את הקבינט, החלטנו על שורה של צעדים תקיפים. כיתרנו את יאטה, תפסנו את האיש ששיתף פעולה עם המרצחים, שללנו היתרי עבודה ממאות בני החמולות שלהם, שללנו גם את הקלות הרמדאן לביקורים בישראל מעשרות אלפים, איבינו כוחות בקו התפר וגם כאן בתל אביב, והחלטנו על נקיטת עוד שורה של צעדים שאני לא אפרט כאן.
In response to the Israeli decision to push forward aggressive steps against Palestinians in response to the Tel Aviv terror attack, U.S. State Department spokesman Mark Turner urged Israel to assure that it does not punish innocent civilians.
The dynamic here is that we don't want to see any further escalation of tensions. That's something that they obviously should weigh when they consider these kinds of measures. We understand the Israeli government's desire to protect its citizenry, or its citizens rather, after this kind of terrorist attack, and we strongly support that right. But we would hope that any measures it takes are designed to would also take into consideration the impact on Palestinian citizens, or civilians rather, who are just trying to go about their daily lives.
Dozens of Israelis gathered at the cemetery in the central city of Yavne to attend the funeral of a man who was killed during the Tel Aviv shooting attack. 42-year-old Ido Ben-Ari was one of 4 people killed in the heinous attack. Meanwhile, the Tel Aviv terror attack has rattled Israelis in Tel Aviv as well as other Israeli cities, further distancing the hope for a viable peace solution with the Palestinians.
You especially feel bad because you know that you can be the next one. It can come from everyone, from everywhere. It's a terror attack that you don't know the people. They are Arabs, they live in Israel. Most of them live in Israel, they look like everyone. And the security feeling that you got in Tel Aviv, which is a really special city, you don't have it anymore.
It's very sad, tremendously sad that it happened. We live sometimes in an illusion that things are getting better, and then reality strikes us right back in the face. We have to keep on hoping that things will get better, but always be ready to be strong when it doesn't happen exactly the way we expect it to be.
Unfortunately, every time we think that we're getting to some ceasefire and peace and quiet and opening our borders towards the Palestinians in Hebron and all over to work in Israel and to feel what is to live in peace, especially when it comes to Ramadan. Every year we allow thousands of them to come into Israel and spend time with us here in Israel on the beach and all over, and it seems like they never learn. They don't care if they're hurting us or hurting their own people. And the truth is, I don't see, I can't see the horizon. I can't see what's going on in the future.
Now to Israel's northern neighbor, the United Nations announced it would not hold another round of Syria peace talks in Geneva until officials on all sides agree to the principal guidelines for a transition accord. The United States and Russia brokered a cessation of hostilities as part of an effort to get UN-backed peace talks moving earlier this year. The talks broke down in April, when the main opposition alliance withdrew from the internationally brokered talks over what it described as worsening situation on the ground. Envoy de Mistura said during a press briefing in Geneva that talks currently would continue on a technical level in a bid to keep the process alive.
We want to keep them low profile. We want to have them at a very technical level. I will not be involved in them. They will be members of my team who will be actually moving to various locations in order to be able to have those technical discussions.
De Mistura stressed that time was not mature for a third round of negotiations between the warring parties, yet reiterated the hope of advancing a political process which would bring about an end to the 5-year conflict as soon as possible.
Time is not yet mature for official third round of the intra-Syrian talks. We are intending and we want to do it as soon as possible. No doubt about that. The undermining, or let's say the stressing word is as soon as possible, but particularly the word possible.
Since the start of the war in Syria, some 500,000 people have been killed, while more than 6.6 million have been internally displaced, and another 4.8 million people have fled the country. Now to another matter. United Nations Chief Ban Ki-moon said that Saudi Arabia exerted unacceptable pressure by threatening to cut off vital funding to the World Organization after a UN report backlisted a Saudi-led military coalition fighting the Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen in response to reported cases of child killings in the war-stricken country. According to diplomatic sources, Sunni Muslim allies of Saudi Arabia piled pressure on the UN Secretary General over the coalition's backlisting, with Riyadh threatening to cut Palestinian aid and funds to other UN programs. Following the threats, the United Nations announced it had removed the Saudi-led coalition from a child rights blacklist, which was released last week, pending a joint review by the organization and the coalition of cases of child deaths and injuries during the year-old war in Yemen. The UN Secretary General said his decision to temporarily remove the coalition from the list was one of the most painful and difficult decisions he had to make, and that the threats to pull funding raised the very real prospects that millions of other children would suffer grievously.
My latest report on children and armed conflict has documented the harrowing situation of Yemen's children. There has been fierce reaction to my decision to temporarily remove the Saudi-led coalition countries from the report's annex. This was one of the most painful and difficult decisions I have had to make. The report describes horrors no child should have to face. At the same time, I also had to consider the very real prospect that millions of other children would suffer grievously if, as was suggested to me, countries would defund many UN programs.
Saudi Arabia's ambassador to the United Nations, Abdallah El-Mualmi, denied the allegations of pressuring the United Nations on the matter of the report, while also rejecting the report's findings on child killings in Yemen. Thank you for joining us. Keep praying for the peace of Israel and the peace of Jerusalem. I'm Yair Pinto. Have a good evening. Shabbat Shalom. And we will see you again on Monday at the same time.
In order to donate to TV7 Israel News, please follow these simple steps. First, press the Donate logo, located at the bottom left side of TV7 Israel News Facebook page, or on the Donate tab at the head of the page. Then insert the amount you'd like to donate, and fill in your credit card information. Just like this. And press Review Donation and continue. After reviewing your donation details, please press Donate to finalize your donation. That's it! Your donation is now complete, and an email with your donation details has been sent to your email address. You can also print your donation receipt by pressing the link here. Thank you for supporting TV7 Israel News.